Stitches. Make sure everything's in frame. Probably need to pull this back just a hair. Yeah. Whoo, that thing is getting hot in there. What's up? What's up, what's up, what's up? We're gonna be forging a knife today out of some round bar. I'll show y'all. I've got it in the forge right now. It's gonna be fun. That niche rivers is either my son or my actual wife, but most likely my son. Yeah, definitely got to stay hydrated today. I've got plenty of stuff to drink in here, so just making sure, double checking that I wasn't making that up. So I'm trying something a little bit different today with the little fuzzy thing on the mic. That way if I get into the area where the fan's blowing or wind's blowing or anything like that, it doesn't actually mess with the audio. My little test that I did, the audio was actually pretty clean, so I think it's going to be good having the mic. Now I'll probably look a little bit goofy, but it works like this. And now, so it is Nisha then. So I've got a piece of round bar in the forge right now. This is 5160 coil spring. So it's actually this coil spring right here. So this spring actually came off of an Audi that I used to have, and I put different suspension on it, and I kept the coils off of it. But I forged a few knives out of this, and they work out pretty well. Of course, right now what I'm doing is I'm burning off that plastic outer coating that's on there, and we've got to take it. Right now it has a little bit of a bend to it because it was a coil, so we got to straighten that out, and then we're gonna do an integral bolster, and then so it's basically a full tang integral knife. Now I'm not doing one of the ones where I I-beam the handle and make an integral handle all out of steel. I'm actually going to be isolating the bolster, forging the tang flat, and creating a full tang knife that's going to have handle scales and all of that, and we're going to forge out a blade. So this is a little bit trickier than your normal hidden tang or integral. So typically on an integral, you have the bolster that's built into the knife, just like that, to where this section right here is actually part of the knife. Well, what we're going to do is we are going to take and make a full tang, as opposed to where it has a tail right here. We're going to make an actual full tang profile that's going to have handle scales on either side of it, and we're going to do it all by hand. We're not going to be using a press or a power hammer. I will tell you this is 100 times easier if you have a press. Now I could use the power hammer for part of it, but y'all don't have power hammers. I like to show y'all how to do this by being able to use a few different hammers and anvils, stuff that you can actually have access to or get. So instead of, I wouldn't call it cheating, but instead of doing it easier and having a press or using the power hammer, I'm going to do it all by hand. This is one of those types of knives that takes a little while to do because we've got to isolate things, but I'm not going to be using my guillotine tool. I am literally just going to be hammers and anvils like I used to do these. Got the forge pumping right now. This thing is nice and hot. Woo. Okay, we got to flatten it out. I'm actually going to use the back anvil here to do that. Let's rotate it onto its side so I can pinch it from the sides. Sit it down, This thing's retaining a ton of heat because I had it in there for long enough. Okay, so we had to take it and straighten it out like that. Put that back in there, let it come back up to temp. So like I said, this was a coil spring, and because I'm using about this much of this, it had that curve to it. So I had to take that curve and bend it out. Basically unbanana that banana. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start working this down. We're gonna start and isolating the different areas. I'm gonna make it a little bit easier on me. What I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna go ahead and forge the initial blade section first. And I say I'm gonna make it easy, but it's not really gonna make it any easier. Okay, I'm gonna change the direction that that fan's blowing because it was, there we go, now y'all aren't shaking. So I've got to go through and I've got to isolate the blade section. I'm gonna leave the back section round. That's gonna end up being the tang. Once we get the blade section kind of isolated, we'll go from there. But I'm gonna zoom y'all in onto this anvil for us to start doing that section. Well, now first we'll probably start on here because I'm gonna take and narrow down the tip. You'll see what I'm talking about with that. Take it and just kind of fan out that tip right there. That'll go back in the forge. Let that come back up the temp. I just scared the crap out of this spider that like lives under the anvil. So, you better calm down. The whole point behind doing what I just did there was I gave myself a reference point of what is going to be vertical. So what is going to be a spine and a cutting edge. That way whenever I come over here and I start necking down the area that's going to be the transition from the bolster down into the blade. I'll show you. This section right here. I am forging an integral bolster knife, but instead of doing a hidden tang like this, I'm going to do a full tang. I'm not going to I-beam it like the integral handles that I do. I'm going to actually forge out a tang with the full profile of a tang, of a full tang. So it's basically gonna flare up, come back, flare down. So we're gonna do an integral bolster full tang knife. What I've done so far in that first, I guess that's technically the second heat. First heat, I just straightened the bar because it was off a coil spring. So now I flatten that section. The whole point behind that is, like I said, it gives me a reference point. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my straight peen. I'm going to go ahead and just start pulling everything down. Well, cross peen technically. And then I'll clean up the bolster area. want to switch the tongs that I get this out with. That puppy is hot. So because I already have it kind of flat right there, and I'll zoom y'all in here in just a second. And I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm putting dents. So what I was doing earlier is I was just flattening this section. Now what I'm doing is I am drawing it out height-wise. So instead of coming in here like this with a straight peen and hammering in there, I'm actually just starting by drawing it out, because I want to get as much height as possible in that area, because that is going to be the heel of the knife. The heel of the knife is going to be in this section right here. So this is going to be in that section. This guy here, mostly here to troll. Well, thank you. So we're going to end up working this section, but instead of just thinking about making this section, I want to be able to draw out as much height as possible in this process. So it's going to be one of those things where I'm gonna be able to go back and clean up the bolster area, that transition. Right now I just want to focus on getting as much height as possible while thinning the steel. And what's gonna happen is, I'll show you on this. I've already got, this is from the last integral that I did. What's gonna happen is it is gonna flare out. If this is the bolster, the regular size of that coil, it's going to take it, it's going to push out these bumps right here, because I'm just focused on putting all these lines in here, and it's just moving this section out right here. Okay? We want that right there, because we're going to end up doing what this arrow did here. We're going to end up hammering here and pushing all this material that's bumped up here, boom, down to the bottom, and give us more height. So right now we're just focusing on flaring that section out, almost like if we were doing a dagger. Get a drink. Definitely gonna have to stay hydrated. It's 100 degrees outside right now, and because I'm using the big forge and not my small forge, I got 2 burners going right now, and that thing is pumping out a ton of heat. My nephew is actually picking up my small forge today. He is going to start his blacksmithing process, and so I am giving him my travel size smaller forge that has been on top of this forge. That way he can actually start his blacksmithing journey. So I'm going to zoom y'all in right here, so that you can see what I'm doing. Don't worry, the camera will stop. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get this out of here. Now I'm going to switch to these other tongs, just because these are good tongs, but they don't exactly hold it the way that I need it to be held. There we go. Make sure you're doing even swings on both sides. And don't be too worried about it starting to look ugly or whatever. Right now, we're just moving that material to where it needs to go. That's it. That's all we're focused on, is just getting it there. Y'all can come on in. My brother and my nephew's here. So the forge that y'all are taking is right down there. It's pretty cool. Come here. So this is my brother John, and my nephew Jericho. He's the one that's actually getting the forge, and that'll be pretty cool. So you'll be able to do that. And then of course the youngest of them, Kai. He's the same age as, well, close to the same age as Toby, the one that's always chatting to y'all underneath the rivers. So there's chairs and whatnot in there. If you want to move them around, sit down, just don't get in front of the fan. Or you can bring the chairs over here. Do whatever you want to do. So I'll tell you more about the forge here in a minute. But you really don't have to do anything other than hook a propane bottle up to it, light it, and go. All right. Tongs. Should be able to get it out of here. We'll zoom y'all back in. What's up, Steve? Do what? Yes, but they're like doing baths and whatnot. So I don't know if the kiddos are dressed or not dressed. So y'all can actually see this real quick. You can see all the different lines that I have going in here, and I'm kind of flaring it out like this. And like I said, it pushes this section out and that section out almost like a dagger as we do that. So what I'm making, John, is an integral bolster, full tang knife. So typically, integral bolster knife looks like that. So this is all built in instead of being slapped onto the sides and pinned in. And typically we do a hidden tang on it. I'm doing an actual full tang knife, so there'll be handle scales on the side. So you'll see it flare out, come back, and then go back in as you do it. Look at this thing. This is what I'm making for my challenge. Yeah, like I said, y'all can come over here. Y'all can bring the chairs over here.
That's really cool.
Take this stuff out of the chairs. Y'all can do. Y'all don't have to stay in there.
That's what you make it.
Yeah. That's gonna be with this. That's gonna be out of this huge bar of 80 CRV2. Look at it. Look at the size of this bar of 80 CRV2.
You want a chair? Right here.
Imagine how much that cost. A quarter-inch thick.
Jericho, bring a chair over here for him.
2 feet 3 inches.
Take it to the outside. That's what's sweet.
Oh yeah. That's a Damascus integral bolster.
Oh
The lines actually run lengthwise. So they like to come by every once in a while and see what I'm doing in the shop. And while Jericho's in town, you know, he's going to be picking up that forge, but it's even cooler to be able to, you know, watch some smithing happening while he's doing that. Oh, it's crazy hot here, isn't it? So this is a coil spring off of an Audi. That's what the start of this. That black Audi that I had, little 4-door. This is what just to start off as. Yeah, whenever I tell people that it gets hot in here, they definitely underestimate what I mean by that.
Oh, for sure.
Like I've got fans pumping the heat out, fans circulating it.
It's like being outside, usually in Texas.
Yeah, it gets, so in about an hour, it'll be about 130, 135 in here. But it's fun. This thing that I'm working on.
What's it going to be for?
It's a cleaver. You can show it to him. Whew. Let's see here. I can use a few billets that big, of course. Not sold here in the y'all can't get 80 CRV2 in the Netherlands. I know that there's a bunch of different places where you're kind of limited on things. Oh yeah. Yeah, did you see, if you step in there, you can see how many things I have to actually do. All on the wall. All of those, plus the ones on the right, plus I've got another 20 in here. I have a lot of forged projects that are like needing to be done. And I have that box of, John, I have that box of y'all's knives, of the bunched ones, that he wants to take and kind of work on and clean up and do all that. I've got those in there for you too. Yeah, it's right down there in that corner. So basically, we make a paddle that's going to end up being the blade. Now that is actually a lot of steel for a blade. It might not seem like it, but that is almost 1/4 of an inch thick by about 1 3/4 long. And I can make almost a full blade out of just that section. So this is going to be a pretty good sized knife. The rest of this back here is going to be the tang. But what I want to go ahead and do now is just shift the material. So I'm going to forge, I'm going to shift the material down a little bit, and then I'm going to forge a small tip. So you'll see how I do that. Whenever I shift the material, we're going to use the 2 Basterds rounding hammer. I'm going to hang the knife off the edge of the anvil, and I'm going to forge onto the side of it. And I'll show you what that'll do. So, just like this right here, where it kind of flares out, whenever I forge this down, it's going to take all this material that's up top, push it down, and then I'll have a straight spine like that. So that's what it's going to do, and then we'll take and we'll forge in here and here and create a tip. So next step, hang it off the edge of the anvil. The anvil is going to be right here, and just doop, drop that down.
There was something I was bringing up for that.
Okay. So I've got the sections of my anvils rounded in different areas for this process for doing integrals and all that. So these edges are rounded. This is the most aggressive, the biggest round section here for whenever I'm forging the integral, the actual step down. I'm making it nice and smooth, and then I have a slightly narrow radius going up here. So I'm going to be putting it on here, and I'm going to be hammering with the hammer half on the anvil and half off the anvil. And doop, just drop that down. And then we'll go ahead and forge a tip. You want to be careful when you're doing this step so that you don't flip the piece of steel out of your tongs. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold it. We'll go up here. I'm going to heat it back up and do that again, but you can see what's happening there. It is flattening this backside and moving everything down here. So I'm going to heat that back up. I needed a narrower section of the anvil. What's up, Duck? Working on my truck a lot. Valve cover gasket. Heck yeah. Refuted back. Heck yeah. So when it comes to the steps that you're doing right now, you got to be mindful of this thing flipping out and like hitting you or hitting someone else. And I got to be careful with having my nephews in here. The last thing I want to do is fling a piece of hot steel at them. Y'all don't want any hot steel going at y'all, do y'all?
Not really.
Your back is sweating?
The first time I seared in my thumb.
Yeah?
It was about to drop on my leg. And,
So you grabbed it?
and so I just pushed it with my thumb. I didn't have another option because there was another dude next to me. So
Yep. I had forged 3 of these, and I had one that I was working on. I had already finished these, and I had them down right here on this anvil while I was working on that anvil. And they'd only been there from out of the forge to on there for about 5 minutes. So they were probably about still 400 degrees. I just grabbed one of them and just dropped it and burnt my hand and everything. By the way, I worked on these little guys last weekend. This is twisted angle iron, or twisted angle iron, twisted rebar. So whenever you take a rebar and you twist it, you get that pattern. But these are what I call camp stake flippers. So just this long, take your stake, whoop, flip it over. I'm going to be carrying those. But yeah, these, I actually stopped using my larger stake flipper and started using those while I'm cooking steak, chicken, all those things. Okay, let's go ahead, bring this down again. Like that. Don't pick that up. So now we've shifted that down. So is that Kazan City? That's pretty cool. So now we've shifted it down. I'll end up messing with that more as we get the tang longer. Yeah? Your hands just get used to it. So you'll notice I don't have any hair. I don't have any hair on my hands right there.
Yeah, that is the nice part.
It's all gone. You don't have any hair because you're still too young to start growing hair all over your arms and hands. But
I don't have any hair up here because it burns all off.
yep. Yeah, we get used to the really hot steel. So what my nephew asked was, how am I not burning my hands whenever I get that close to the steel? And it's just your hands get used to it. But this is how hot this is. It's still really hot, but your hands just get used to it. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and forge the tip on this. So we're gonna come in here and we're just gonna step this down. And we're just going to start bringing that down to where it's almost like a leaf look. And the whole point behind that is just so that you have a point coming to it, and then we can adjust it later. Don't get too close over here, okay? About to say, you probably want to go over there where it's not super, super hot. Oh, look inside of it? Yeah, it's don't look inside there too long because you'll hurt your eyes. Yeah, go back over here. So if I'm in front of the, let's say I forge for like 7 hours, I'll get sunburnt off of it. This is true. This is only 3 pounds. This is a little baby hammer compared to what I normally use. Well, I say that. I mean, I use this for a purpose, but it is a lighter hammer compared to like, that's a 5 pound. Which there are no, one of my friends did. There are sledgehammers that are 5 pounds, and I use that as a regular blacksmithing hammer. I'm going to be doing a video series about hammers. It's one of the reasons why I have this one, because I'm going to be doing a series about them. So, head straight, you look like a croissant. Don't tell me how to live my life. What's up, Niels? So again, what we're doing right now is an integral bolster, full tang knife. We've gone ahead and isolated the blade section. We have shifted it down and then forged in that tip to give us that nice preform. We're going to go ahead and stretch that out just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and start isolating the tang section and get that where it needs to go. Like I said, I've got my nephews and my brother over here watching. My nephew is picking up his forge and that I built for him, and that's going to be pretty cool. It's a nice little 1-burner forge. Just bringing it down just a little bit. I'm not going to go too crazy with it, because whenever I start isolating the tang, it's going to do a lot of stuff to the steel, especially while I am necking it down and all of that. It's going to move a lot of the material around because I'm not using a press. If I was using a press, everything on this would get uniformly squished. So the bolster would stay centered very easily. But because I'm forging, the bolster and the blade are wanting to... Holy cow. You know it's hot when I have a wet washcloth behind my phone and it already dried the washcloth. We'll move that up there to where it's blowing on it. It already dried the friggin' rag here. That is too hot. Too hot. That's part of how it goes though.
See the gear warp around.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's with a wet washcloth still. Golly. Get my beard from the fan. I have the fan blowing straight at it. And no, the live is not over. It's just having to deal with some of the Texas heat in here. That is part of life.
Yeah, I bet it's
Make
nice
sure you stay over there.
I bet it's nice to work out here in the winter.
It is amazing to work out here in the winter. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to, let's go ahead and use this is a cross peen, straight peen. I'll zoom y'all back in. Over here. Maybe a little bit more than that. Okay. Cross peen, straight peen. So straight peen, it runs in line with the handle. Cross peen, of course, is perpendicular to the handle. We're going to use this just to kind of isolate it some more. Said you were no longer alive. Everything froze. Yeah, if my phone overheats, that's it gets you. This I've got a wet washcloth. You got to have one of those whenever you're doing this. I mean, it gets so hot in here. All right. So now, straight peen gives me length. Cross peen gets me height. What I'm going to do, I'll switch to the cross peen and I'm going to draw the heel back. So just drawing the heel that direction and down. Go back in. And again, we're still in preform phase. So we're still just adjusting everything. I'm gonna end up moving that heel back, and then I'll go ahead and finish stretching the rest of the blade out. But the goal is to just bring that to where it's as close to vertical. So like this, to where it comes straight down and it doesn't round forward like you see on some of these, where it'll round off all the way into here. I want to pull it down and back. Whew. I always tell people for every whew I do, it like drops my body temp like 3 degrees.
How hot are your glasses?
Huh?
How hot are your glasses?
Very hot. Yeah, very hot. Absolutely very hot. It's the glasses, the hammer, the tongs, because I mean, again, see John? So whenever you're holding that the entire time, like these tongs are probably 100, I don't know, probably about 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And now feel where I'm holding it.
200?
Yeah. I don't know. I'd love to do it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to, just because of the whole work thing. I don't know if my job's going to let me do it again this year. Kind of ridiculous the amount of small little fiddly things that you have to do in order to, yep. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ball peen, and again I'm going to isolate some more. Let's see here. How's the day going? It's going pretty good. Do you make mouse to by order? I do. My website's theriversexperience.com. From Ireland. Heck yeah, what's the weather like in Ireland right now? I bet it's a lot better than here. Where you going, Mr. Tong? Okay. Ball peen. And just bringing it back just like that. Okay, I don't need to do any more of that to this, what'll happen is whenever I finish forging and I start messing with the profile, it's going to bring that down the rest of the way, especially whenever I start forging in the bevels. It's going to stretch that whole entire cutting edge, both forwards and backwards, and tuck that heel back below. One of the big things with blacksmithing is knowing when to stop. Because if you don't, you're going to just keep moving things and screwing things up. It's always rainy there. What's up, Top? What's up from Amsterdam? That's pretty cool. Whew. We had Niels Vandenberg in the chat for a little bit there. That's pretty cool. Of course, the phone would overheat while he's here. Okay, so now I'm going to stretch it out with a cross peen, straight peen, and not a rounding hammer. So you typically do this with a rounding hammer so that you don't accidentally screw it up. Once you get used to your hammer swings, you can do all of this and not go too crazy with it. To start with, I would go with a rounding hammer. Yeah. The biggest thing is rounding hammer and if you were going to do two hammers, those two. Rounding hammer, cross peen, straight peen. Hold on one second. Hey, Nisha. Nisha, can you get me a couple of bottles of water? Whew. Want to take a dive in the swimming pool. It's almost swimming pool time. Oh, it does. What feels good is just taking a step out there. You know what's hot in your shop? When you walk outside and it's like 98 degrees and it feels cold. Like I'm outside the shop right now and it feels great. Most people be sweating out here. All right. So what I'm gonna do now is switch tongs. I'm gonna grab my box jaw tongs. If you don't know what box jaws are, they're these guys right here. They have a little lip on either side. Let's see here. I'm gonna make an excuse to stand in front of the fan for a second. Let's read these comments. Makes sense for me. Whole new set of brakes as well. Yeah, I've been doing car work too. Colorado right now. It's 79. Yeah, I wish I was in Colorado right now.
I just came in from Germany.
From Germany? How'd it feel over there?
I thought it'd be cooler.
Yeah?
It was, I guess, bad time to go. It was 90s, 80s, most of it. But when it wasn't,
and humid?
40s, 50s as well. And Austria.
Germany, Switzerland, and Austria.
We drove through all three.
Dang.
On a bus. Stayed at hotels.
That's what the tang is starting out like right there. We got to do the same process and step it down. And just start working it down just like that. Make sure y'all can still see what I'm doing here. So normally I'm using the Mastersmith series anvil. This guy right here. Whoop. This is my J. Nielsen Texas Farrier Supply collaboration anvil. I use the heck out of it. I just haven't went and broke the sharp edge. Now this isn't really sharp. It is rounded, but it does still have a little edge right here. And I just gotta smooth that out, and I'll be using this a lot. Y'all will hear my voice change just a little bit, because as I start getting hotter, breathing in between talking is hard. It's 88 stormy right now. Oh my God, I wish. I would suggest this. Do not attempt doing an integral bolster knife when it's hot. Save this for winter. Because this takes a lot of work. When you're just forging a piece of flat bar into a knife, so something like that, you can just forge the knife profile. You're not having to make your own thickness. Because I'm going from that round bar and I'm having to create my own thickness. And you have to crush it down to do that. I don't know what this is. This is a bar of Golden Gate Bridge cable, Damascus. So it's actually twisted in there. You can kind of see some of the twists right through here, where it comes down at an angle. Golden Gate Bridge cable. And high carbon powder and a canister. This is going to be a sword. It's going to be kind of like a mixture between a katana and a Quaken, and it's going to have that handle. That's the handle that's going to be on that sword. And it's going to have a Suba, Habaki, the whole shebang. It's just going to be different. Here's a cool one for you to look at. There's 16 stars forged into that. Steve Jennings, the guy that made that Golden Gate Cable Bridge Damascus, he's the one that did that. That's a mosaic Damascus. And make sure you're forging on both sides equally as you do this. It's cool because whenever you grind that, it almost looks like snake scales. Not that. I'm going to end up twisting this. Whenever you grind through it, it looks like shooting stars.
Oh, that's so the blade back there, is that constructing that?
I'll eventually do that one. Whew, let's hug the fan for a second. It's too hot. I was out here foraging for about 2.5 hours last Friday, and I was making those steak flippers. That was pretty hot. Don't let yourself get too hot while you're doing this stuff, man. Y'all gotta be careful. See, you won't have to worry about it as much because the forge that you're getting, it gets hot, but it doesn't pump out as much heat as this one. The reason why I say that is it doesn't have 2 burners. It's not that it can't, because that forge will get hot enough to forge weld and do Damascus. Like you could get it up to probably about 2,300 degrees. This forge will get up to about 2,400, but it pumps the heat out because that back burner is basically hitting that back corner and shoving everything out. You see how far the flames come out? The forge you're getting has a little front door, so the flames only come out of the bottom. It's got a little opening on the bottom so you can put longer material in there and come out maybe that far.
That's not too good.
Nah.
That's the one I worked out. It went out not as far as that, but farther.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I pump that up, whew, it'll get ridiculous.
So do you ever have to replace the bricks?
Not really. I mean, I've used those same bricks for probably 150 knives. I highly doubt you'll even come close to that whenever you first start. But I've used it enough that my the fire bricks on the bottom are actually carved out. Okay, so as of right now, y'all can see where we're at here. Don't worry about whether the bolster is centered right now. All that'll get fixed whenever I actually go through and finish it. What I want to do now is draw this tang out to overall about 4 inches, 4 1/4. So I've got a little bit of work to do. Got about 1 inch to go. So I'm going to draw that out, do a distal taper on it. And you'll see how we do that as we go. Let's turn this. It's going to be pretty cool doing this. Y'all, it's pretty simple to do the phase that we're about to do. You just got to be mindful about how thin you go, because the steel, you got to hold it from the tang to finish profiling and forging the bevels and all that stuff on the blade. So we only want to get the tang to about 70-ish% done, and then we'll get the blade to about 85% done, and then finish forging out the tang. That way we have a little bit more meat to hold on to as we forge that blade. We don't have much abuse to put into the blade, but we do have quite a bit of stuff to do. And then we got to, of course, center the bolster and get everything where it needs to go. And I'll show you how we center the bolster here in just a little bit too. It's not as hard as some people think. She's going over there and hugging the fan. Yep. You want to have one of those because it's going to save your hand as much as possible. Okay, I'm going to switch to the straight peen and flat to do this part. So we'll flatten it out, and then we'll pinch it. We'll flatten it out again, then we'll pinch it. And that's going to give us all the length that we need. Whew! Back to hugging the fan. Bone handle, yes, for that sword. He had more done. Now remember, this is just the tang section. I've already got we're working on the other side of the bolster now. So it looks like we went backwards, but really, we're working on a different section of the knife. Water. Oh, it's gonna be cold. Poured some water on myself. No wet t-shirt contests here. Y'all don't get to see that. But yeah, it could definitely look like I started over because now I'm working on the same type of paddle section that was going on before. But the blade still preformed. We're just working on the back section right now. And if you've seen my other profiles, should I twin charge the Ranger? Hell yeah, you should. That's what I got going on my BMW. Twin turbo inline 6. It's worth it. I'm hugging the fan again if y'all don't know what I'm doing. The funny thing is it's blowing like probably 90-degree air at my chest, and it feels like an AC. That's how ridiculous that is. But it has been helping. Let me see if this needs more water. Okay, hold on 1 second. We gotta slide the phone forward. Wet the rag again.
So how come you don't put vents here?
It wouldn't help that much. But I plan on doing that.
AC.
Yeah, I eventually will do an AC unit, but the AC unit's only going to help so much whenever you have a heater also blowing in here. Not twin turbo, but twin charge, super anti-turbo. That's ridiculous. So, just so y'all know, I just touched water on my hand. Make sure your hand dries off before you start forging again. It's a really easy way to get blisters. You don't want your forging hand or your swinging hand to be wet. So if your hands are sweating, dry your hand off then go back to swinging. Because wet hands will absolutely cause blisters. So what happens is your hammer rubs your hand the wrong way. If that's, the easiest way to say that. Some of y'all who've already watched me do some of my recent handles already know what's going on there. It's going to have a coffin style profile to the tang. Hooey! Yeah, it is. I'm gonna do just a hair more work on that handle and switch it back over to the blade. Whew. Hold on here. One second. Okay. There we go. Whew. Oh, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. Got the old air tug in the fan, right? Whew. Having that cold. Oh my gosh, having that cold towel on my neck. Oh, that was a game changer. It's nice having that little caterpillar thing on the microphone so that I could be in front of the fan and it not affect the audio really. Oh, that's so much better. Okay, I'm gonna even this out just a little bit, but then we're gonna start working on the handle, or the blade. So you can see how it's kind of weird here versus there. Same thing right there. I'm just gonna even that out. Just a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and switch to the blade and start working on that. So whenever you're working on an integral bolster knife, the biggest thing is focusing on keeping everything centered as much as you can as you go. It's not one of those things where you're not going to be able to fix it later, but if you don't have a press, it's very hard to mess with this stuff in a later phase. Whenever you're doing this by hand, you need to be focused on hitting each side evenly as you go, so that you're not causing yourself to be able to deal with a whole bunch of crazy stuff later. Just something to think about there. Okay, that's good enough for now. Watch out for just a second. Had a little section that might have been caused a delam later, or cold shut. If you ever have a little flap or lip that's sticking up, just grind it off or file it off if you can. Whew, backspace sensation. Nice. It is therapeutic. It's more therapeutic whenever it's not blazingly hot outside. I'm over here hugging my fan with a wet towel around my neck. It's wild how hot it is. I'll probably end up making another small forge, the same size as the one I'm giving to my nephew today. I'll probably make another small one like that, just so I'm not pumping out as much heat. Having more than one burner, it's just wild the amount of heat that comes out. It's not really necessary for the size of knife that we're making. But now that we have the tang forged to where it's about 75% done, we're going to go ahead and start working on the blade. We just need to get it to where the profile looks how we want it, forge in a little bit of bevels, clean it up, and then we got to go through and clean up the bolster area and make sure all of that looks good. And what I'll end up doing is, after this anneals later today, I will go through with the ball peen and I will clean up the bolster completely through cold forging. And I'll send y'all pictures. I'll send pictures of that to all the different social medias later. So let's do... kind of clean up the thickness. Okay, so next heat, I'm going to go through and I'm just going to clean up this section just like I did down here. And then we'll go through and push forward from there. All we really got to do is clean up that a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to clean it up a little bit. Then we're going to forge in our tip the rest of the way. Then we're going to forge in our bevels. I'm just going to go and like lay in the pool after this. Okay. You don't get much breaks during this phase of it because, well, you've already thinned everything out. So it takes like no time to heat it back up. Yeah, I would. Back in there.
Where's your bandsaw at?
That corner. Whew. 1 second.
had to go into the AC for just a minute. It is crazy. Almost got a little bit of heat exhaustion. Know when to pause. Whew. Had to go sit in front of the AC for a second. Oh, got a little lightheaded. Had to go sit in front of the AC. You know, get lunch on a good way. That's what I need to do. I'm gonna lay down for a second in front of the AC. It is like, if you start getting lightheaded, you need to cool yourself down. Just work that tip down. Do everything in my power to not be in front of the forge, like at all. I'm like, man. Oh, I'm just overheating. Yes.
There's a heat advisory on.
Oh yeah.
It's still coming. You probably should invite me to the
I'm gonna have to pause.
That's kind of. Yeah, he's like sweating. I know he sweats. But you're gonna have to tell them that they've got ridiculously hot Texas today and you can't.
What? No.
Babe, 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 babe. Eric, 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 Eric. Honey. What do you mean, what?
Maybe we should pause.
Yeah, you should. Stay on the floor. Stay on the floor.
Can you go tell them we're gonna pause?
Yeah.